Our guest is Duncan Wood, director of the Wilson Center's Mexico Institute. Duncan, welcome. And you and I just came back from the auditorium after hearing Vice President Mike Pence speak about Latin America. Let me, before I ask you about some of the specific things he had to say about Mexico, ask you about your general impressions of the event.
Yeah, first of all, I thought that it was intriguing how the administration now seems to be discovering the importance of the region. For a long time in the early months of the administration, it seemed as though beyond Mexico, Latin America was something which was really not going to feature as a major issue on their political radar. But now it seems as though there is this commitment with the region. There's a commitment to democracy. There's a commitment to prosperity and security. Those two words came across loud and clear. Not a big surprise. I mean, those are very big Republican words. And, we shouldn't forget that during the last Bush administration, of course, security and prosperity partnerships were the order of the day. And so I think that that's what I take away here is that you've got now, it seems, an administration, or at least the Vice President's office, which is firmly committed to understanding how the United States can work alongside partners and allies in the region.
More than once he used the phrase "bound together by history and geography."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you've got the history of the region, but you've also got the very real interests that exist here. And of course, there's economic interests, which we can all talk about. But then you've got the movement of people. You've got the question of security within the region, and of course, you've got the challenges to political values.
You and I have discussed in previous interviews the rocky start that the administration got off to in terms of its relations with Mexico. And now we've seen a bit more nuance added to the equation. What did you think of Vice President Pence's Mexico-specific remarks today?
I would imagine that our friends and our colleagues in the Mexican government will be delighted with what they heard in general. And primarily because Vice President Pence, when he spoke about Mexico, began by identifying Mexico as an ally. Now, coming from a Republican vice president to refer to another country as an ally means a great deal, particularly in the current context. Mexico has been identified throughout the years as initially as being a distant neighbor. Then we started talking about sort of economic partnerships. We've come to the idea that the United States and Mexico are friends, but to actually say that we're at the point of being allies is a very, very important step forward. So I think that that's sort of the first big takeaway. And then to identify that the United States and Mexico can work together and should work together and will work together in the region to promote security and prosperity and, most importantly, the stability of the region, I think that is something which is hugely significant.
The audience outside the auditorium, 600 people inside, but the audience, and I'm thinking specifically of an audience south of the border. Yeah. How much do these words resonate? Do people in Mexico, members of the government, just citizens, average citizens, pay close attention to utterances from a U.S. vice president?
Yeah, so obviously from the government, they will have been following this very, very closely, and they will have come out of this feeling very, very reassured and delighted that all the hard work that they put into the co-organization of the event in Miami last week on Central America has really paid benefits, has paid dividends. And of course, you put that in the context of a relationship which has been so rocky, as you mentioned, and it really shows that we've come a long way since January. The institutional mechanisms that you and I have talked about before are enormously important. The foreign ministries of the two countries have spent a lot of time together. The economic ministries or the trade ministries of the two countries have spent a lot of time together. The Interior Ministry of Mexico and Homeland Security and Defense have spent a lot of time talking as well. We've now got a much deeper understanding between the two governments. Outside of government, I think there's still going to be a lot of skepticism because remember that there's been a lot of damage done to the relationship. And so these are words which help to heal, but we've still got a long way to go.
Trending in the right direction, but some makeup to do. Huh?
Absolutely.
Duncan, as always, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, John.